How's it going, everyone? It's David here, and welcome back to another episode of Hemlock Hills, a traditional amusement park I am building here in Planet Coaster 2. In the last episode, I created a hillside log flume, a waterfront pirate ship, and a tilt-a-whirl. And now, starting off here on this episode, it is finally time to build a classic wooden roller coaster. I'm now going back to the front of the park and will now be developing on the east side of the property. What I'm trying to go for is a classic out and back wooden roller coaster that runs along the trolley tracks. It's one of the first sights that you see approaching the park, and then it's going to go out toward the far end of the property, have some trees, go into the woods a little bit, and then come back. A simple out and back design that's focused on Camelback Hills and a turnaround on the far end. Main inspirations I took were the defunct Blue Streak at Conneaut Lake Park and the defunct Big Dipper at Geauga Lake, two wooden coasters that I grew up riding. The scale and style of this ride, I wanted to make it feel like it was designed and built in the 1920s or the 1930s. And a lot of great classic wooden coasters would begin its ride with a tunnel coming out of the station before approaching the lift. Popular examples are the Phoenix at Knoebels, the Big Dipper at Belmont, as well as the aforementioned Blue Streak at Conneaut Lake Park. I'm going to build a tunnel after I get the initial design of the ride done. So you're going to be climbing up almost about 70 feet in the air and straight into a drop parallel to the trolley tracks. Following that is going to be a camel hump hill with a slight curve to the left. On the far end of the ride, I'm going to have a slight bank turn up in the air that will eventually turn into a diving drop. And following that, it is just a series of airtime hills that will take you right into the final breaks. Not a super long or big ride, but it definitely will get the job done. After doing some testing, I actually went into the settings and decreased the friction just a little bit. The excitement rating on this coaster was actually quite low, and doing this will boost it up, and it's now going to be going a little faster through the course, but it doesn't look too unrealistic in my opinion. It still looks like it gives off a good amount of airtime and comes in at a realistic and reasonable speed into the final breaks. Now, my previous Planet Coaster video was actually the creation of a National Amusement Device train, or a Century Flyer, and I'm definitely using my design here on this coaster. I love NAD trains. It just screams classic wooden coaster. Now that we got the design all figured out, it is now going to be time to add really the finishing touches. And as I mentioned, I want this ride to begin by going into a tunnel, and that's exactly what I am doing here. A few episodes ago, I created an Old Mill Dark ride, which is basically one really long tunnel. It was quite time consuming, but I'm quite proud of the result. And using the same principle that I used from that over onto this. And while the distance is not nearly as long as the Old Mill, this I do have to play around with height, because as the train will be leaving the station, it will be going on a slight grade down to get to ground level and to reach the bottom of the lift. You may notice that midway through the tunnel, I actually have another set of track, and that is actually going to be the transfer track. On most coasters, you would have a transfer track or a transfer bay for trains not being used or trains being serviced inside of the station or off to the side of the final brake run. However, I realized after this design that the final brakes, it's a very tight turn going into the station, and I don't want to have an even tighter turn or a modern day transfer table. Instead, the idea that I came up with is that the train can theoretically be very gently lowered into the tunnel, and at the bottom, using these brakes, it could slide to one side, and then that is where the transfer bay would be, where the train could be stored or serviced, and it would be enclosed inside of a tunnel as well. Now, none of this is functional. This is all theoretical. You can't really do that here in Planet Coaster 2. But again, I'd like to add a little bit of even theoretical functionality here to this park. The station is a pretty basic station. However, I wanted to add one final touch that would be common on these old wooden coasters, and that is to have a station with manual brake levers. Again, these are not functional, but I do like the little attention to detail here with this. It really does make it feel like an old wooden coaster from the 20s or 30s. Another feature I added is a little cupola on the top of the lift hill, and the main inspiration I took from this was the blue streak at Cedar Point. And that leads me into the name of this coaster. I decided to call this the Blue Flyer. Flyer in reference to the Century Flyer train that it is running. And one final detail I wanted to add was to have a light up block zone board. And what these basically were hand-painted murals with the layout of the ride, and a light bulb would go off based on where a train's location would be. And this was to help monitor where all the trains were at all times, and for the brakemen to be prepared to pull on the levers to activate brakes where need be. It also was used in case a train would valley if a light didn't go off, and with some final touches such as making the sign and some gardens and planting some trees around here, I think the Blue Flyer is ready to go. While not perfect, I am pleased with the tunnel that I built, especially for how dark it is on the inside. And I like the added touch of having the cupola on the top. I'm also pleased with the Century Flyer train that this is running on, especially at nighttime with the working headlights. And that's going to do it here for this episode. Let me know your thoughts on Blue Flyer, and love to hear some ideas and thoughts on what else you would like to see here in Hemlock Hills. I really feel like this park is coming together. So if you enjoyed this video, make sure you like it and subscribe for more gaming and amusement park content. And with that being said, thank you all for riding, and I'll see you next time.